Hey, Renee.
Hi, Annette.
Today I want to talk about some of the things people say to us or others who have gone
Mm,
through a trauma and are still trying to, at times, wrestle with it. And one of the famous lines I hear is, "Can't you just get over it? Stop talking
mm.
about it." That type of situation. We've heard enough on TV, we've heard enough on the news, that type of situation. But sometimes they're the ones who open up and say, "Well, oh, you're a speaker. What do you speak about?" Well, I always speak about bringing hope and healing to those who have been sexually abused and who are brokenhearted.
Yeah.
They asked, we respond, and to hear, "You guys just need to get over it. You talked about it enough." That is some of the
Mm.
reasons why those who have been abused have never talked to anybody. They've lived for 40, 50, 30, whatever years, and have never shared it with anybody. And it's been this horrific secret that they've held of hurt.
And then you froze.
Okay.
So,
It reminds me of not just not sharing sexual abuse, but it could be a trauma that happened in their life, whether they lost their parent or a death happened with one of their siblings.
yeah.
And they never mentioned to anybody, but this is part of their life. And it's also part of the reasons why they act certain ways. I remember someone sharing that they had an abortion when they were a teenager. And it
Mm,
was the first time that they ever shared it with anybody.
mm.
And when they did, she was so scared to even say it. She was so scared of the judgment that would come upon her and stuff. And it was like, all I got is love for you.
Right.
It is not for me to judge. But I could see where, in her case, her mother knew about it, and her mom would bring up when she would be hurting on that baby's, what would have been its birthday. She would always just be a little bit down on that day because of the loss and grief of the child. Her mom would be, "Just get over it. We are not going to celebrate that. We're not going to pay attention to that date."
Wow.
And that is why some people don't share the hurt that they're having in their life, is because of the harsh response they get
Mm.
back.
They're told to shut it down, and that's
Shut
not
it
kind.
down. It could be because they aren't believed, and we talked about that in past videos. It
Right.
could be because they're being blamed.
Right.
Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you run away? Why did you let this abuse continue? Why didn't you tell somebody? Wow. Those are harsh words to somebody who's just stepping out, Renee, to tell you about
It
this
took all the
hurt.
courage.
Yes,
Yeah.
the courage that they have to even tell you, and yet they're hearing this, or they're hearing, "Don't let your past define you. I'm sorry that happened
Mm.
to you as a child, but you're not a child anymore and you need to move on, and that's not part of you." Yes, it is a part of you. Those are part of your experiences. If you were severely burned as a child on this at working on the stove by your mother, it would always come to your memory as you go to the stove to work on things with your own children, that you don't want them to get burned.
Right.
It's
Right.
part of your memory.
Yeah. It's part of your history. And it would be naturally how you would respond and be a little more careful
Yes.
as an adult. Yeah.
When those who have been abused or those who have gone through incredible trauma and they get those responses, it makes them feel like they're unworthy of your support.
Yeah.
Obviously, the person isn't going to support them, as well as it makes them feel like they're responsible for the crimes that were done to them.
True.
They're already suffering with the shame that they've put on themselves and all the negative that they've gone ahead and redefined themselves. But the lack of support and the more finger pointing, "Well, have you forgiven them?" Instead of just listening to that they're admitting that they were abused,
Right.
whether they share it long or short. that's some of the reasons why people do not want to share about that subject.
True. Yeah.
It hasn't stopped you or I. Why hasn't it stopped you, Renee?
I think because I've seen hope come out of it. I shared and I felt the relief of sharing, you know. There's a relief. there's a renewal that happens when you share. And I have found that when I share, 9 times out of 10, somebody else will come up to me and say, me too. And I'm not expecting that, but it's not surprising me anymore, if that makes sense. My giving myself permission ends up giving others permission to tell, to speak up.
And that's one of the main
What about
reasons I
you?
feel like it's worth sharing over and over again.
Yeah.
Because I bet
Yeah,
those
'cause
that you've shared with you maybe have never mentioned it to anybody else before that moment.
that's true. It's an honor to be the person. It's an honor to be the first person somebody shares it with. And it's an honor to be a person that somebody shares it with. Because that takes a lot of courage and a lot of trust
A
to
lot of trust.
bring those words up out of your being and out of your mouth. That's a lot to bring that out to the surface and speak it. There's so much fear behind speaking it because of that judgment you think you might be getting.
Tough stuff.
That is.
Well, I've changed my response for when somebody tells me
Yeah.
that they also have been sexually abused or that they've gone through this trauma or that trauma is congratulations.
You say congratulations to them.
I say congratulations. And a lot of times I'll get this look on their face and it'll be, why are you congratulating me? What are you congratulating me for?
Yeah.
And that's when
Yeah.
I
Like, what?
say, because you must have such resilience inside of you. Your
Amen.
survival strength must be high.
Amen.
I'm so proud that you've made it to this point.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you're reaching out and even sharing with me. That must have taken so much courage. Congratulations.
Yes.
To me, that's the beginning
Beautiful.
of the healing journey, is being able to start telling your story. Even if it's in, like you said, somebody said, that happened to me too. That's telling your story.
Yep.
They didn't have to go into all sorts of details. You got the picture.
Yeah. That's beautiful how you respond. I like that.
I remember even just having the courage to say those words, that I had been abused as a child, that in saying it, I wasn't feeling freedom. I was afraid people were judging me at that moment. I was feeling the shame even more. I was hearing old voices in my head. And for somebody to go ahead and tell me congratulations and to say, wow, what resilience you must have. My goodness, I'm so proud of the positive steps that you've taken forward and you've raised these children. And to hear positive back would have fed my soul. Would have really fed my soul. And so that's what I have found when I say congratulations to somebody.
What's the word? It sounds like it's a catalyzing word versus I've just shared it and now I want to crawl back into my hole. Kind of.
Right.
Sometimes
Absolutely.
you do feel like that when you tell.
Yes. Yes.
Because of the responses.
Well, that's all I wanted to share about today, is the reason why a lot of people don't want to share, whether it's a sexual abuse or a traumatic experience that has happened in their life, is because of the negative response they get back. And a lot of people may not think it's negative to say those things, but it is negative to hear, just get over it.
It is. Yeah. It's
If
very
your parent
demeaning.
just died and you're sad and you're grieving, for somebody to say, okay, well, they died yesterday, get over it, they're
Mm,
not coming back, would be harsh. And that's what it
very.
feels like for those who are just trying to find their feet underneath them. Even if it only happened, let's say it happened when they were 3 years old and they're 40 years old. Well, they're just starting to maybe deal with a certain piece of it. So with that today, Renee,
Yeah.
I say congratulations. You share your story well.
Amen. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
All right. Well, I will talk to you again.
All right. Take care.